All right. So, if you're just starting off your healing journey and you're just, starting to realize that the life that you've been living is not really the life that you want to live, and you're starting to understand there's things about you that you don't agree on, and the things about you that you don't like, on how you react to things. So, you start your healing journey as far as understanding, and your healing journey really is just a mainstream name for remembering who you really are. So coming back to who you really are is your healing journey essentially. And so you're starting to have these feelings and confusion really. You go into a confusion state because you realize that none of what you know is true. You feel confused about what you want to do in your life. You sometimes feel like you're not aligned with what you're doing in your life, whether it be a relationship, whether it be a job, whether it be, just different things that you might be involved in, that you have continued to be involved in just so to not let people down. If you're a people pleaser, for example, and you're in some type of situations and you start your healing journey, then sometimes what may happen is you just feel confused about the relationships and you feel like, well, confused of like these relationships no longer align, but you're just not there yet on understanding what the heck is going on. So there's a lot of confusion when you do start understanding and listening to yourself, or start being aware that the life that you're living is not the life that you want to be living. And you actually let yourself, get to that stage of like, well, what the heck? Like, why? Like, what is this life? And why am I not happy? Right? Excuse me. So you want to, so here are essentially three things. If you're starting your healing journey, if you're starting your journey coming back to yourself and understanding who you really are authentically, these are three things that you can do when you're starting your journey to understanding, to coming back to yourself. The first thing that you can do is start being curious. And what I mean by that is start being curious about yourself. So, for example, if you're out with your partner or your spouse, um, or with a friend or something, and they said something that irks you or makes you feel uncomfortable or makes you feel some type of way, then you want to start being curious about why you're feeling that way. So it's being an awareness of that feeling and then ask yourself the question. Obviously, you don't have to ask yourself the question then and there, but make a mental note of it. Or I always make notes in my app, in the notes app on my iPhone. If something came up for me when I'm out or when I'm with my partner, and she might say something that irks me or doesn't make me feel good, I make a note of it and I come back to it later when I'm doing my practices, right? So be curious about the way you react to things. Be curious about how you are in your relationships. Be curious of your life and the things that you're doing in your life, and ask yourself the questions like, why did I act like that? Why am I in this relationship if this relationship doesn't feel good to me? And this could not just, it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. This could be a relationship with your parent. This could be a relationship with your dog. I'm a dog lover, so that could be a hard one. But this could be a relationship with anybody or anything, really. So you have to start asking yourself, am I doing this because it's making me happy, or am I doing this to please others, right? So you have to start getting curious about your life and questioning the things that you're become aware of. The awareness of things comes little by little. The more practice, the more questions, the more curiosity, the more awareness you're going to have. So if you find yourself like not finding moments where you're feeling uncomfortable in conversations that you're having in relationships yet because you're not being aware that it's making you feel a certain way, it's okay. Like, it's going to take time for you to become aware of some of the things, because a lot of times, unfortunately, we have developed very strong coping mechanisms that does not allow us to see or be aware that we are reacting a certain way to somebody saying, well, you're not doing something right, or we have developed these coping mechanisms where we get defensive and our ego takes over. So it takes time to build that awareness and just continue to be curious with it. Why am I not, even that could be it, right? Like, why am I not aware that this and this happened, right? You'll become aware. I promise you. You'll become aware, and then you could ask yourself more deeper and deeper questions at that point. So be curious about your life. Be curious and ask yourself questions. Now, you, like I said, you don't have to do it at that very moment, but you want to make a note of the question that you want to ask yourself, or if you want to figure out why you reacted a certain way in the situation, make a note of it on your phone or whatever, and come back to it later when you're journaling or meditating or doing whatever other practices that you're doing within your healing path, right? The second one I wrote down here is listen to guided meditations. When I started this journey for myself, it was really hard for me to meditate. It was crazy hard for me to meditate because I felt like my brain just goes and goes and goes. And meditation is a lot about quieting your mind. But then I'm like, and then I learned like, no, meditation's not about quieting your mind. Your meditation, I feel for me is essentially being within yourself, like being with yourself and allowing whatever wants to come in for you to come in for you within that time. There's definitely going to be, different thoughts that come in, and there's going to be different, things that you experience, but at the end of the day is just doing the practice. And guided meditations for me were a big win. There's obviously tons and tons and tons of guided meditations online. I do a lot of Joe Dispenza guided meditations. He's amazing and making you move like the energy in your body, essentially the stagnant energy in your body to allow the flow of energy throughout your body, through your brain, through your head chakra, and you know to you through your grounded chakra. So his meditations are amazing, but I number 2 would be definitely guided meditations. If you're able to start with like 5 to 10-minute guided meditations, like just YouTube 5-minute guided meditation every morning and just try it out. It was a big win for me. I'm telling you. Now I do like 40-minute meditations where it's like quantum leaping meditations and stuff like that. I'm into a lot of subconscious reprogramming currently, so I do a lot of those meditations as well. Guided meditations, honestly, it's very hard. I know it's very, very hard for a lot of us to sit there and to be able to meditate and sit in silence and meditate. So I think that's why guided meditations help us, because we're so used to thinking and overthinking, and it's very hard to shut our brain off, and then we get discouraged to even do meditations, right? Because I have a lot of friends that are like, "Oh, I don't even know how to meditate, and it's hard for me to meditate and sit there quietly." Like, no, you don't have to sit there quietly. Like, listen to a guided meditation and just go with the guided meditation. And if you're able to, sit there without thinking, then that's amazing. Most likely you're not, but you just, you let the thoughts come in. You let the thoughts come in, you acknowledge them, and then they move out. And then you go back to listening to the guided meditation. So that's number 2. And then number three, I would say be patient with yourself. I know this is not an actionable one, but it is in a way. But be patient with yourself. This healing process is gonna be forever. We're forever evolving as humans. We're forever changing. We're forever discovering something new, which is the beauty of the experience, really. But just love upon the process. Like sometimes I tell myself, like, sometimes I tell myself when I'm in meditation, like in my morning meditation, I'm so excited because I'm like, hi, I wonder what's gonna come in today, right? Like I'm curious and I'm excited for whatever wants to come in, whether it be an idea, whether it be an experience, a thought that just lifts me up. Like just love it, fall in love with that process, fall in love with the curiosity of it all, right? But be patient with yourself. Be patient with the process. You're not going to learn everything about yourself and who you really are and why you react or why you get defensive or any of the coping mechanisms that we've created for ourselves because of our traumas and experiences that we've had that possibly have some type of hold in our nervous system. Like there's going to be times that you're just not going to understand why you're being the way that you're being. And sometimes it takes time and sometimes you it takes different experiences, it takes different conversations, but I promise you it always comes to light. You're always going to figure out what triggered what and where that trigger come from. Where did that trigger come from? It's always going to come to light and it's always going to come for full circle because quite honestly, once you start doing these practices, the things start flowing very fast. If you really dedicate yourself to these things to essentially find who you to essentially learn who you really are authentically before all the programming, before all the beliefs, before all the shame or the fear, embarrassment, whatever it is that you went through, like before all of those things that programmed you, you were are, I should say, you are authentic and you are unique. There is no one else in this life, in this world that is like you. And that's amazing. That's magical. There's literally nothing else more magical than knowing that you are the only you in this world. And your ideas, your perspectives, your mind, your imagination, they're a gift to share with others. And you have to truly believe that and you have to truly embody that because you didn't just come here to work a job and pay taxes. And you didn't come here to just live a mundane life to wash dishes every day. I hate washing dishes. You didn't come here to just do that. You came here to live a magical life. And the magic could just be something small. Like it doesn't have to be this crazy 90-foot yacht that you own. Like magic could just be you realizing that you are not your parents' trauma, you realizing that you are a beautiful person and you can create the life that you want, whatever that is, whether it be living in a high rise with a beautiful view of the city or living in a farm with 10 horses and 2 cows. That's my magical life. Well, that's my life that I want to create. But you could create whatever life that you wish to have. And the moment that you start embody, the moment that you start understanding that and embodying that, everything just comes full circle. So be patient with yourself. Be patient with the process, and I promise you that you are right where you need to be. Always, you are right where you need to be.